What's up, everybody? We got Final Fantasy VII news. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth got a release date announcement trailer. It's got some key art and some other stuff that we need to dig into, developers, information. And we learned the game's coming out on Leap Day, or Leap Year, or whatever, February the 29th. They announced this on the 14th of September. Flashback to the 13th of September, and you'll see that, once again, I'm correct in all ways. FF7 Rebirth releases on February 29th, because it's Leap Year, Kino bless up. Like, even bald people are surprised that this event happened. My precognition's just too strong. This key art, looking great. So exciting to see myself be correct like this. It's just so good. So good. If this gets delayed and anyone calls me on it, I'll block them myself, because we're in the world of the present, the world of the now. I don't care about your cynical takes, your predictions. They don't matter in the face of me. I took an edible 20 minutes ago, but don't worry, we have some time before it hits. But I like being a little wacky and silly today. So we're gonna get started by watching the trailer in full. I'll pause a couple of times for some things I noticed. And let's get to it.
At least, that's what everyone's saying.
So they're showing that, I guess, Zack talked to, I think her name's Elmira, Aerith's mother, at some point. We get to see the presidential inauguration of Shinra here, as they prepare to fire the Junon cannon. I wonder if he's firing on a weapon or something else. I don't remember him firing the weapon during the inauguration there. It might be a show of force. It might be also fighting an impending threat. I'm going to say it's probably a show of force, and they'll just talk up how much they powered up the cannon or something. We also got to see some of the parade gameplay. You're in the front now. They said you could, like, change your, formation, as you can see there with the L2 button. Send some exploration stuff. A bunch of icons in the Cosmo Canyon section for, like, various things. Very interesting. They keep talking about how wide open this game is. We still have the pips under the ATB gauge there.
We can overcome
materia on the commands menu, like right down here-ish. Vengeance mode is the stance change for Red 13. Still don't know what that does.
The same as these monsters? Am I even?
Sephiroth flashback of him, Doom posting about everything he's learning.
Think you can find him?
Oh.
Our proper introduction to Kate Sith, or as it's pronounced, I believe, Katshi? It's a weird pronunciation. One thing I noticed from watching the trailer a couple of times is right before we start gameplay with this guy, just doing normal combos. Then he shortcuts into a move called Let's Ride. And then that changes by summoning up the Moogle construct thing he has. And then they put an icon on it only when it's out on the side of his status bar. So interesting. Interesting how that entire thing works. We get to see traversal in the form of the buggy, the climbable chocobo, the gliding chocobo. That's not a chocobo, that's a Segway.
They're our best chance of finding Sephiroth.
And then, once again, showing up more of these guys.
They're soldiers suffering from cellular degradation.
Do not be deceived.
We get yet another Sephiroth trolls cloud in a building, and then he goes, Sephiroth! Yeah! And then he'll disappear, because that happens in all of those. That's this game's equivalent of Organization 13 showing up. We get to see Midgar Zolom, or Sormer, whatever pronunciation you prefer. We get to see that. I hope there's a way to beat it at a low level, just like the original. That'd be nice. Also, the fucking Leviathan-ass looking fish that you fight on the boat. Get to see these combo attacks again. I didn't notice any UI changes on anything, except right here. When the beam fires, you'll notice right here, it's something sparkling next to MP. MP is now replaced with an infinity symbol on it. I'm wondering if that means that's showing that they're doing their combination attack together, but the other ones didn't show that. This one's also going to show it, but it's only going to be on Sephiroth. Watch this. Watch his MP bar right as they go in, and boom, for just a couple of frames, that invincibility icon is birthed. If I could just, go frame by frame here. Just a smidge. I realized I'm going forwards frames and not backwards. Shout out to Truest Storm, who managed to subscribe, not even knowing I'm streaming. Congratulations to you. Let's see here. They get to show off other things like Odin, multi-element behemoth. Cool stuff like that. Going into the Golden Saucer. Get to see, you know, fun events happening with it. Yuffie kind of serving something. I'm not checking ages. I'm an adult. Oh, you see the boxing minigame, the chocobo races, and the motorcycle stuff. Love that this uses the FF7 original models in it. It looks really nice, really cool particle effects and stuff there. I love the entire new UI and elements and stuff for the chocobo stuff. I like it when it looks as different from the main game's UI as possible. I always think that's neat and cool in minigames and stuff like this. Then we get the motorcycle stuff, of course.
Excuse me. Could you look after my friend?
Zack finds the first scene girl in the area and drops Cloud off. She'll know what to do. A mysterious character's overlooking the inauguration. I wonder if it's like... I wonder what character that'll be. If it's entirely new, if it's a character from the first Soldier, which I did not play. I need to do the Ever Crisis scenario stuff for that.
A weapon?
They introduced the concept of weapons here, which makes me go, are we going to take out a weapon? Or is someone going to take out a weapon at some point before the end of the second game here? And then, of course, we have the scene with Vincent.
Who dares disturb my slumber?
Sounds exactly like Matthew Mercer, who did Core in Final Fantasy 15, for instance, among many, many, many other roles. There's a chest in this room. That's crazy.
It's upon us. The reunion. When worlds merge.
This looks like this is what the game's going to intro with. Like a new cuts and a mixture of all the new footage of that final battle and remake. Which is exciting. And then, of course, we got the usual stuff. 2 discs. February 29th. Statue. Extra content. Boxes. Steelbook. The official box art. Which... we already saw this really nice key art here. Very cool, very awesome. Let's move into some of the other stuff that we have on tap here. If I could just put some generic music on for the rest here. Yeah, Collapsed Expressway. Let's dive into what they had to say about this whole thing. We got a couple of developer messages here. Pull them up. First up, we got this from Katase. That doesn't really say much, aside from what I really liked was, we know fans are dying to see one scene in particular for this game. A lot of it's just the generic, it's the second part of a trilogy. New stuff is in it. New enhancements. New mechanics. A recap will be there. Buy the game. They do a lot of things of what every FF has done since, like, 15 started of going, now we know that some people may be new, but don't worry, you can get in on this one. It's good for the first-timers as well. I feel like some people want to complain about this type of statement, and I'm like, what do you want it? You want it to say, play all that other shit first and don't buy our thing now. They'd probably fire him. Next up, we got the director for this one, Naoki Hamaguchi. Had some stuff to say on this that I thought was interesting enough, where he's really talking about the free exploration, compelling stories and minigames and powerful monsters to go find, and then talks up the 100-hour playtime here. Never trust playtime estimates from developers. They're usually wrong and off by a couple dozen hours. But I am expecting it to be pretty meaty in general here. It all comes down to how much of your playtime is spent doing things that you enjoy within the game. Which, so long as there's not multiple 5-hour do really basic side quests like the last FF we got, I'm gonna be pretty happy about it, you know. Or at the very least, you know, make it a little bit more funner, you know. Kind of make the replays a little less damning. That's about the most slander you're gonna get out of me for FF16, to be honest. Mainly just cut down those blocks of eat all the vegetables. Last statement we got is from Nomura, talking about how this is the second part of a trilogy. Covers the journey outside Midgard to the midpoint of the original FF7. If Remake was an introduction to the world and a preparation for the journey, Rebirth serves as an illustration of the incidents that started the journey, an exploration of the people tied to it, and the journey itself heading towards the climax. And it's usually a lot of the stuff where they're like, we're not compromising on anything, we're continuing to up the amount of work we're putting into it and to the characters and just doing feedback and all that other stuff. And whether you experience the original or are embarking on this, we hope you'll face the ending of this work on your own terms. Where he's like, you know, just face it. Face the peak fiction we have here that will make the boomers upset that they didn't just make Final Fantasy IX over and over and over again starting from the year 2000 onward. Now, moving on, it's time for the FF7 Rebirth developer interview from the PlayStation blog. I have not read this yet, so I'm going to be reading these verbatim, mostly, as I see what they had to say about it. We got a brand new look at Rebirth. Can I zoom this in a little bit? Let's see if we can... There we go. I'll do this a little bit here for you guys. Rather than leave you speculating, Key Staff joined us. Alright, can you explain what we're seeing in the combat system? Has it remained untouched from Remake? Or have you altered things for Rebirth? Hamaguchi, so director. I want to highlight the new synergy moves most from the battle system. This mechanic allows the players to use synergy commands and abilities freely at any time by using up a gauge charge in a similar manner to limit. Okay, those are what the pips are on the menu. The pips below your ATB must be the gauge charges that use this system. Because otherwise there is literally no new element to the UI besides situational stuff. Looks like. So through the battles, players will feel the relationships and the bonds they have developed between the characters even more so than in a previous game. We have added skill trees as a new element of character growth. You can unlock synergy abilities through the skill trees too. Many new materia and all that stuff. See, good. So we have the weapons that you can make them better. We have a skill tree that's going to help us learn new moves. They're just adding additional systems. That's a good idea. Viewers got us players will have even more optimized and built character loadouts, which I think that's going to mean that you can, they're like, here's your preset for the materia, so you're not digging through that menu, remaking it from scratch again, which I would really appreciate. Viewers got a glimpse of Red 13 in combat as part of the new trailer. Now that they're able to do them directly, what can they expect in terms of abilities that make him distinct and a great party member in the Rebirth battles? Let me get a drink here so I don't choke to death. The dev team challenged themselves to give Red 13 a new playstyle that felt different from the other characters. He doesn't just have an ATB gauge, but his own revenge gauge. His revenge gauge charges when he guards against enemy attacks, and then he can spend that charge to use various abilities once the gauge is filled. He did have the Vengeance stance change on Triangle, so I imagine it's that. We've designed Red 13 as a new type of character that requires the player to strike a balance of offense strategy using the ATB gauge and defense using the revenge gauge. Yeah, it's a really interesting approach, and I think that's a pretty cool way to keep everyone as distinct as possible. Like, Cloud kind of sucks in terms of air combat, but Yuffie seems pretty decent. And Red 13's there to promote a nice mixed style. Barrett's the zoning style. Whereas, you know, and then you've got, like, Tifa with the up-close and personal with big combos and, like, moves that put sustained dots of damage up there on them. Interesting so far. We've seen Red 13 and Kate Sis show displayable characters. Also, another character who looks like Vincent. Yeah, it looks strange to like him. I love when you have to play around that shit. Will he be playable as well? Will the party expand further? This is from Nomura. The original party members are all present in Rebirth. In the previous title, Remake, Red 13 had an accompanying member in the second half of the game. All right, me and Nomura have a very specific, very specific definition of second half of something. I don't think in the last like three or two chapters of like an 18 chapter game I'd say that's a half, but hey, that last half was really fucking cool, so I guess you have the mandate of heaven over there. But he let's see. But he will become an official playable party member starting in Rebirth. Similarly, there are characters who are accompanying members in Rebirth that will become official party members in the next title. I'm going to assume that means Vincent and Sid are just going to be AI controlled the whole way. Maybe they'll do some late game dungeons where it's like you're split into two teams and each team has their AI guy with them. Which I'm really excited. The bigger this party expands, they're still probably going to not make you control who your reserve party member stuff is in this. They're just going to split the teams up a lot to make scenarios, which in a game like this is generally way better, I feel like. It allows them to tailor the encounters even more toward specific stuff that you'll end up doing. The more curated I feel like, the better. You can lead to some really well-directed moments that way in gameplay. And viewers caught a glimpse of Alexander and Odin. Can we expect more returning summons from 7 for Rebirth? And will any summons from Remake return? Which Hamaguchi director says many other summons in the game, in addition to those that have already been revealed in our previous videos. With some also returning from Remake. In fact, the lineup of summons has actually been fleshed out over and above the previous game with new extended side content based on a summon who did not feature in the original FF7 and even more besides. I wonder if they're not going to let you keep your old summons necessarily. You know, like some like Ifrit and Shiva, and then you just get them again in this game for some reason. That would be cool. I also heard someone saying that it's like, if you have save data from the other games, you just get another summon for free from one of those. So interesting how some of that's going to get handled. Also, what summons they could end up picking here. Next up, sneaking into the original Junon saw players partake in another unique minigame. We saw the parade and many other minigames in the newly revealed trailer. So will the same minigame from FF7 still be playable? Sorry for scrolling in a way where you don't see the whole text sometimes. Sorry, not very good at this thing. Hamaguchi's like, yeah, the main minigame will be playable, but we greatly increased its scope compared to what was in the original. Cloud sneaks into one of the units participating and joins in on the performance, but in Rebirth, he becomes the leader of that unit and can customize the composition of the soldiers participating in the parade. The chosen unit comp will alter the performance, and it goes without saying that this also affects how it's played. The parade to celebrate the inauguration of Rufus as the new president of Shinra is the climax of the first half of the original game. So the development team was really enthused about making all the details for it. It's one of the moments I hope players enjoy the most. Okay. That's his definition of what halfway through a game is. I need Katase to come in here and tell me that the first half of the game ended with you fighting Rufus's dog. He's like, it was a good end to the first half of Final Fantasy VII. Speaking of minigames, we got a fun glimpse of the Gold Saucer and its own minigames. How does Rebirth versions of these differ from the originals? Hamaguchi once again going, I think there's a lot of fans who point to the number and the variety of minigames as one of the draws of the original 7. Honestly, yeah, they have a lot of minigames in that. Some of them you do once for about a minute and a half, but it's that exciting moment of, oh, we're doing something else now. They were really good at making a lot of pace breakers for 7. I feel like that's generally important for, like, Final Fantasies to have, like, things that mix it up, so it's not just combat after combat after combat with cutscenes. There needs to be, like, some breaks in there, and they've been generally good about that in a lot of them. I feel like some of the ones that don't have it is stuff like 16, and I feel like that's possibly some of its detrimental stuff in terms of a pacing thing. FF13 similarly also has a really big problem with, like, things that break up the moments of gameplay to gameplay. It's one of 7's strengths, and I'm glad that it's getting retained here. I wonder if the Fort Condor stuff also ends up being back, so you have an entire network of going up to NPCs across the world to play the Fort Condor minigame. Which I imagine that's the only version of that we're gonna see. I wouldn't be surprised. They're like, we made that minigame, we can just cut that aspect out of the story. Wondering how that'll end up going. But yeah, he's right. Draw the original 7, a lot of minigames. But for Rebirth, we've gone all out and created a huge number on a scale that surpasses even the original WoW. Many of these minigames can be experienced in the main story, but we've left lots of unique ones and challenges that appear as side stories as you find them in the world map. There will even be players who get caught up in all the fun minigames that they are making progress in the main story. I'm gonna say this is why they say it's 100 hours. They're like, some people will become junkies for the motorcycle minigame, and next thing you know, they have 100 hours of play time. I feel like something like that could happen. Gold Saucer is another iconic locale that players will be eager to visit. How have you approached redesigning the amusement park? Players will first visit it in the middle section of the game, but are free to come back to it at any time. In order to create the motivation to come back, here we go. We designed the park to have a changing and more wonderful experience with each visit, so new mini-games are added, harder difficulty modes, giving you even more to do there. It's not just the mini-games either. And the parts of the Gold Saucer seen in the main storyline will be fully remade and upgraded too. So you can expect great things from it. I'm very excited to see how this goes. Like, if they keep adding cool mini-games to it, maybe even, you know, maybe even throw in all the dumb ones from original Remake in there. They're like, yeah, Bust a Box is back, and Darts is also. We put a dartboard over there. Just the idea of someone just sitting down and they're like, I'm gonna just do bullshit in the Golden Saucer for 6 hours. Just cuz. You don't need to bring back the pull-up minigame, though. The pull-ups, that trophy was annoying. Alright, that's all I'll say. That was on a PS4, though. Maybe if it runs at 60, that minigame is acceptable on the hardest difficulty. Trailer also shows moments of the party exploring lush exterior open areas. How do these larger areas work within the context of the gameplay and the story? Well, our director Hamaguchi goes, once the team leaves Midgar, Cloud and his team's major objective in Rebirth is to track down Sephiroth across the expansive world. Put a lot of emphasis on exploration-focused game design with this title, as we wanted to create the feeling of going on a journey while traveling around, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's just a lot of bullshit. We're gonna adventure around, but it's exciting to hear that we're adventuring around. Now, you're several years into making these locations, you know, and with Remake being so successful, they sold 7 million copies of that, by the way. You feel less pressure to match fan expectations when reimagining beloved areas. It's like, hey, you've been pretty good at it, so are you less, like, antsy about it? And Hamaguchi goes, as Rebirth will take players to various locations across the whole world, we needed to recreate the massive Final Fantasy VII world map that would incorporate places such as towns and dungeons within itself. To do this, we dug deeply into the feeling of each region and reflected that in the graphics, creating areas that look and feel quite diverse. On top of that, we designed chocobos unique for each region and have their own abilities. Okay, mountain chocobos that can climb sheer cliffs, and sky chocobos that can fly. The players will need to utilize them to fully explore each area. I hope players will have a lot of fun with this aspect in the exploration. Definitely can see stuff like you can only access this area with a chocobo, because that is a hallmark of this specific larger team, I'm saying generally. This is the team that went from 7 to 8 to 10 to 13, and then that kind of like moved through the various like sequels from that to Mobius Final Fantasy, which is the mobile game that then went to Remake. You kind of see similar stuff there. It's like FF10, you needed the chocobos to jump from the Calm Lands area into Remium Temple. Or to jump to higher parts of the Mihen High Road if you're on the low road. Or you can see stuff like, there's that one area that you can only get through teleporters or a special chocobo in FF13-2. They kind of like that type of stuff, so I wouldn't be shocked if it's like, you need a flying chocobo to fly across the map to get to a side area that has one chest in it. I feel like you're going to get some of that stuff in there. That's just something. We're kind of getting lost there, but I thought that was a good example to kind of reference, and also it's nice to see them, like... It's interesting to see a development team that has a lot of the same similar ideas or how they make a game, and seeing how they iterate on it across years. I was referencing things that this team with a lot of the same people have been doing for like 20 years. And it's interesting to kind of look at it like that. This is one of the teams, because it has Toriyama and Kitase and Nomura on it in some manner. You can kind of see how they've evolved over time. Let's see. So players need to utilize the chocobos for each area. FF7 Remake offered new interpretations of classic locations and moments, as well as entirely new ones that enriched the game. Is there a similar balance here? As with the previous game, we have strived for the right balance between old and new scenes in FF7 Rebirth. We've tried to take on new challenges, more new challenges than we did in FF7 Remake with some of the new scenes. I'm confident these new scenes will be wildly enjoyable for fans and newcomers alike. Yeah, everything new they added was great. I know a lot of people were like, this part's filler, and I'm like, you know it's filler based entirely upon the fact that it wasn't in the original game. That doesn't really mean anything. I'm sorry. People always talk about, you go to the sewer. And I'm like, the sewer is 20 minutes both times. Actually, I think it's 10 minutes on that second time. You chase a goblin, then you fight a boss, and then the boss is awesome. Who cares if you fought it already? Because it's playing a better track. It's playing the Ghoul track. It's great. Both are collectively 30 minutes. Just because you looked on a wiki for the whole format of FF7. Okay, now I'm just making up a guy. I'm not even saying they played the game. If you know FF7 and you see new stuff, it's not filler. It's the new stuff. It's like it's a new game, you know. I feel like some people are a bit reductive in that way, but I'm really excited for the extensions they're going to do. Wouldn't be shocked if they try to put more Don Corneo stuff even in this game to kind of like flesh out a mini arc of that guy getting cooked when we get to Wutai, because I believe based on this we're not going to be doing any Wutai stuff in the second game. But yeah, there you go. There you go. I get to use these videos as a way to rant, and no one can stop me. Apparently all you can do is subscribe mid-video. What is the function of the world map? The world map is vast and expansive, so not all the locations on it will be used in the main story alone. I wonder if there is even a list on the world map. I'm guessing there's going to be, and the save point will let you like bounce between them or something. But I know whenever people see world map here, they always think it's gotta be like Final Fantasy VI. Or something like that, where I imagine it's going to be a list that you can fast travel to, and then it's like a Xenoblade-esque, but maybe not in that level of scope, of big zones that you run through, because they find that better than the abstraction that people that were really, really into the 90s just didn't get. It's interesting, I come from a generation where my first Final Fantasy was 10, and the first time I encountered a world map in the traditional Final Fantasy way that they know of, it was Golden Sun, and I didn't necessarily find that world map thing to be that exciting, generally. I just didn't find it like something that I needed to that I needed in the games. Because I was in that generation that didn't have as much of, I fill in my imagination what we did on the journeys we walked to this place. I was like, whatever, it's fucking, I played FF10 and I felt like I went on a journey there. So the illusion of world maps. I know a lot of people are like, I wish it was like, you're a little small dude. You're on the thing. I've never found much of an interest in that. So when I see this there, I can just imagine people going, the world map. I'm imagining it's going to be like a list when you're on a save point or something. And then you just do like, maybe FF12-esque zones, I guess, but a bit more verticality and interesting stuff there. I don't know why I used FF12 and I don't really find its exploration that great. But you know, I was trying to think of RPGs that have like a big zone. I'm excited to see the blue neon dots that are going to be on the boundaries of stuff, because I feel like FF7 also likes using those a good bit. Players who want to enjoy FF7 setting on an even deeper level can explore all corners of the world, discovering many different and exciting experiences such as new stories, battles, and minigames. It will be possible to return to any of the regions in the world even after the main quest moves on from the area, so you don't have to worry about leaving things behind or unfinished. See, that's good. I want to make... This is important because of how FF7 Remake was formatted compared to how this is going to be. Generally, this is going to be better than Remake for me. Probably. I thought Remake was a 10. Especially now that I can run it at 60 with all the loads being cut. On like PS5 or whatever. I thought it was a 10. I had issues with it. Some of them came from, okay, maybe there's too many squeezed through moments in that game because of how linear it is and how like on a track it is and all the loading and a lot of it just being set dressing and the way they're directing scenes. I had issues with that. I had some issues with replayability, where you can replay any chapter you want, but the chapters are long stretches. And getting the trophy for, like, getting every single Aerith dress means you're redoing all the side quests in the chapter you need to do for a dress. Then you jump to the chapter that's afterward to get to Wall Market, to get to the scene with the dress in it, and then you do that all over again. And doing that a couple of additional times, it's just boring, you know? It kind of makes some of that shakier. And also you have to redo the start of that chapter up to a point to get to the Wall Market Arena to do the other fights if you didn't do them. But then you have to travel to like chapter 17 to be able to do the battle simulation stuff for post-game. It didn't feel good. Because it was in a chapter by chapter traveling thing, because a lot of stuff gets locked on because of the very honed in linear nature of Midgar and the first Remake game. It just didn't feel good to like go back and do stuff. Whereas I think what's going to make this one better is you're going to go through the game normally. all of the events are gonna happen, and it's like, oh, I missed that thing back there. I'll just go back. I'll go back. I don't have to worry about being in that chapter again, which I imagine they'll still do some sort of refighting or maybe a chapter select in this. I wouldn't be shocked, just because they're like, I'm sure people want to play it again. That or they'll just say, hey, do a new game plus or something for like hard mode and replaying story sections. But all the same, I'm probably gonna make save points pretty liberally in my attempt to like nail all the really cool fights. But I imagine the formatting of that is going to be polished up here because they're going to feel a lot less constrained. They're on current gen. They have a more wide open area. I'm excited about that. Let's see. Given this is a direct continuation, can players port over their save, their final builds? We have announced that the remake project will be a trilogy, and each entry will be a standalone game in its own right. Because of this, each game's balancing is done independently. And the player's levels and abilities will not carry over from one game to the next. That's fair enough. However, we've created some special bonuses for fans who played the previous, allowing them to start with something extra. Look, okay. I guess that's what I heard. I heard someone saying that you can get, like, a unique summon if you played the original and if you played, like, the intermission thing. So I could see them doing that for, like, Ramu and maybe, like, Fat Chocobo or something. They just give you those. But we'll see. What can you tell us about the soundtrack and music of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? A little mistake there. This article's been up for a while, too. Kawamori. The world of VII Rebirth is much larger than Remake. Because of this, the team has created a variety of new music to go alongside it. We've expanded the variety of musical genres. That's what I love when game soundtracks are not on the same genre all the time. They swap in. The music, the phase transitions in FF16, for example, are really good. And at times very different. So I really like whenever a soundtrack does that. I think those are the moments that make a song stick out of my mind even more. There is a balance, though. If you're changing all the time everywhere, it becomes hard. It makes them a bit less special. But when you maintain a good balance of the general vibe the game has, and then shifting in, you get some good stuff, like this Collapse Expressway I'm listening to right now. But yeah, that's really great to hear. Variety of genres. That's very important to me, particularly. Of course, we have many rearrangements of classic tracks from the original FF7 too, so I hope people will enjoy comparing both iterations of the same song to see what's changed. For example, the music in the newly released trailer is a rearrangement of the FF7 main theme as battle music and gives you a taste of the new direction the team had to take in FF7 Rebirth. FF7 Remake soundtrack is probably one of the best soundtracks of that generation. Genuinely one of their best ones they've ever done, because it not only has great arrangements of original FF7 music, but it also had a lot of good unique tracks, like the track that plays when you fight against the ghoul, for example, in the train graveyard. That's one that I liked quite a bit. The one where you're fighting, I forget what the name of it is, the machine in Hojo's lab, like the flying one that's just a normal enemy they then made a boss. I thought that was really good too. A lot of Hamauzu stuff in there that I could immediately identify and go, oh, you got that sauce. I like when I was like, Nobuo Uematsu is one of the best FF composers ever. And then I would always think about my favorite tracks from Final Fantasy X. They are all the Hamauzu tracks. They were not, in fact, Uematsu. And that really opened my eyes. I'm like, man, this guy's got something special in there. Let's see here. Yeah, what was the concept behind the new trailer? We're 34 minutes in. I hope people enjoyed this bonus video today. What was the concept behind the new trailer? Nomura, every trailer has a purpose. Since this is the second installment in the FF7 remake project, they were pasting! That's how this happened. Someone's copy-pasting some shit, or doing auto-completes, and it's leading to them putting 2 7s by accident. There are people who have played the previous game, or enthusiastic fans who follow the... okay, yeah, there are people who play the previous game, or enthusiastic fans who follow the built-in mysteries. But for newcomers, or those simply interested, we wanted to include a full overview of what kind of experience you have. So there's less of a mysterious pretense to the story this time, but you can look forward to the next trailer. Okay, so he's like, this is something where it's it's a mass market trailer where they're like, this one is gonna get people into pre-order. Where it's like, we saw little bits and scenes from the game, multiple locations, multiple traversal styles, multiple combat styles, reveals of new characters. It's got a little bit of that, but it was a bit lighter on the story besides Sephiroth. And it's the New World Order, because Shinra's firing a cannon. Like, there's not as much there, but there's going to be a lot more in the next trailer. Which, who knows when that'll show up. Who knows if they have, like, a longer version of this trailer with newer stuff when they do their TGS shows and proper. They've done that before. They did it with, like, Kingdom Hearts, for example. Or if they mean maybe at the Game Awards or something. But they're definitely going to have to accelerate marketing. Because the game is out in 5 months. Just think about that. We're getting close. That launches at the end of the month, and at the beginning of the month, Persona 3 Reload comes out. So, big moment if you like specifically good RPGs, I guess. There was a let me scroll it up a little bit here. There's a scene with Cloud and Sephiroth fighting together. But will the player get to control Sephiroth in Rebirth? If you've played original FF7, I'm sure you can guess which scene I'm talking about. You will be able to control Sephiroth in the same scene in this title as you did in the original. There you go. Oh, man. Oh, beans. That's great, dude. That's great. I'm not dwelling on it more, because what else can I say is going to be cool as shit. It's going to be cool. People are going to get into photo mode. So many girls I know are going to objectify his titties. It's going to be great. I will be there as well. The gold saucer appears in the newly released trailer, but will players be able to enjoy the much-anticipated date scene on the Ferris wheel? The more with, naturally, this is one of the major highlights of the gold saucer, so it is included in the game. Please look forward to how it'll appear in Rebirth with its high-resolution visuals. It's great they're just like, is that in? Yes, it looks good. Remake showed the story up until the escape from Midgar. What point does 7 take us to? We've mentioned a few times before, but the order in which you explore the locations is not the same. And there are some shifts in the order. For example, Wutai, one of the major locations, is not part of the route in FF7 Rebirth. Okay, I think I learned this through osmosis the past day, and will be visited in the next one. Although there are some changes in the order of the locations depicted in this title extend up to the Forgotten Capital, where the greatest fate of FF7 awaits you. Oh yeah, it does. It is going to be fascinating to see how that goes. And dodging spoilers about what they do. Because, oh boy. The way they said they shuffled locations, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, yeah, we get some unexpected places that maybe we weren't expecting to go to here. And then, of course, saving Wutai for later, I guess, makes sense. It gives them a bit more time to really iron out some of that stuff. And also make it, like, you need also big areas for your next game to give people a pop. And it's like here, Gold Saucer. Oh shit, Junon. That's great. And the original, Midgar, easy. And then this one, it's like they have a trailer for, I don't know, Regenesis or whatever they end up calling the new one. And they're like, here's us running through this immaculate Japanese-looking city for Wutai, and it's never looked better, because it's like the late stage PS5 game. Maybe there's a refresh console at that point, like a Pro or something, and it's like, this looks insane. And it's like, you need locations like that. So I totally get it. As well as, you know, some of the cooler stuff they'll do there. But let's not talk about the third one in a video. But the second one, it's not out for 5 months. I'm getting a little excited though. People always wondered, they gonna like kill Aerith or not? And the fact that people have to ask the question is exciting. If you want my stance on whether or not she should die or not, I'm boring. I'm always that guy of like, I'm fine with whatever the creator wants to do. And if I end up not liking it, alright, I can move on. That kind of thing. Here, I'm really either or. They could still have it happen, and I'd be like, alright, that's still impactful. They could have it not, and I go, that's fascinating. But I feel like an event needs... I will say this. I think if she survives if Aerith survives the event that everyone, you know, the thing, something also fucked up needs to happen, I feel like. I feel like an equivalent exchange of something that kind of rocks and does a paradigm shift to the game, I think should occur, you know? Because then you think about it from a new player's perspective, where they go, I played through it, and it's like, okay, and then my entire party's fine. There needs to be something that's making them stick with it besides besides them hoping they have a 30-year-old guy, arms crossed, side-eyeing them as they play again. See, this is a very important moment, because in 1997, I played this and Aerith died. Her name was Eris back then, because we had bad translations. And I need you to understand that her being alive here is a major paradigm shift to the game. They're like, but what? But I'm new. Shouldn't there be something new for it? And they're like, no, this is about me right now. I feel like they're going to do something monumental in somewhere around there. That if she lives, something else insane is going to occur as well. Some people may say the fact of her surviving is also insane, but that's exciting. Speculation. We don't know what they're going to do. It's very, very, very exciting. Final Fantasy VII Remake, and now Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I really like how much I enjoy Remake and how this looks like such a step up. I'm glad that they get to iterate using a lot of the same assets so that they can make these games faster. It's just going to lead to, like, a game that's just really going to come together. And then we just have this trilogy of games that play this good and play this similarly. It's just, really happy about it. So we got that coming out in the end of February. That's pretty much all the news we have for it. And to close out, yeah, really, really excited for Rebirth in ways that I did not expect it to look as good as it does. And that's kind of what happens every time I see some sort of trailer from them. I'm not expecting it to go as hard as it ends up going, because they have special surprises in them, and it's real good. Real good. We've been in a really nice spot for games and stuff. I've cooled a bit on FF16, as I've said in a few places and stuff, but I still enjoyed it. And what got me even more excited is that there's another one coming out. The release cadence here is so much better than what we had going into last gen. Going into this one, it's just like, yeah, FF15 came out, and then a big Kingdom Hearts game came out, and then we had the 14 expansions, and then we had the FF7 remake, and then we had Neo the World Ends With You, and then DLC for 7 remake, and Stranger of Paradise, and then FF16. It's just, things kept coming out with a more regularity, where it's like there are better lampposts coming in of things to, like, engage with, in terms of, like, bigger Square Enix games with money, except for Stranger of Paradise that had $10. And, like, we got a lot of big stuff coming, which means if you're not feeling something, like, say you didn't like FF16 because you kind of wanted an RPG that was an RPG, like, for example, you don't have to wait long. Like, another one's coming out less than 10 months after that one, which is great. And you know they're starting to rev up 17 in some fashion probably over there. They're revving up that 16 DLC. Kingdom Hearts 4 is in development. I wouldn't be shocked if they have some other Final Fantasy title that they're cooking up that has some money in it. That we got a lot of stuff on the horizon. I'm happy about that general cadence. It's yeah, I was just thinking about it before I was going to start making the video, where I was just really happy about the fact that we went through a big Final Fantasy release, or a big Square release, and I got to go, yeah, we're going to get a trailer for another one I'm more excited about, like, almost immediately. That didn't happen. Final Fantasy 15 came out. But I wasn't confident I was going to see much of Kingdom Hearts 3, like, immediately. That's why when in that following June, when they dropped the KH3 2017 E3 trailer, the pre-E3 trailer, I was like, oh, fuck. This orchestra trailer is insane. It's like the second coming of Christ. Because you kind of, like, wait long amounts of years and hoping to get revved up for the next big release. And Square's done a good job of getting stuff timed out, which they said at the time before KH3 was coming out that they had learned from their issues with it and that they were going to improve. And every piece of games media that is either a mix of cynical or racist, or xenophobic, I guess, decided to go, yeah, it's not going to happen. and then it in fact happened. And no one's ever gonna reflect on how that occurred or reflect upon it. No one's ever gonna do that. However, they will jump at the chance if any product from this company gets delayed to give them shit. Don't even get me started on the amount of Square Enix discourse that happened. Shout out to the, I think Square Enix is doomed. Final Fantasy 16 sold badly, but they said it sold well. While some random dude from Bloomberg who keeps writing about how it did bad continues to say it, and we have to give lip service to it, there's a large amount of discourse across the internet for all things Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, in that large circle. And I always see it, and I always have the correct take, in that I pay enough attention to what's going on that then people say something like, this, and this. I'm like, did you play that game? Did you read a single piece of news or an interview? And they're like, no, I didn't. I'm just making shit up now. They're like, Square's not going to make another low-budget game again because of FF16 not selling 20 million copies. And then they announce a fucking Saga game. Like, come on, guys. You're really bad at this. Anyway, you got the bonus out of me. I saw that we broke like 35 minutes and went, I'm just going to dish a little bit at the end. I feel like that would work and makes the video a little better. Just talking about some stuff that, tends to come up in, like, passing on a stream. Containing it to a subject here is nice. But as someone who's anticipated a lot of games from this company, especially while it's also my job to cover them in videos and stuff for, like, over a decade, it's been really nice to, like, see them get better and better at the HD game stuff, where stuff I feel like is coming out faster. I say that, but we are also in the largest drought of new Kingdom Hearts releases in series history. I'm starting to get a little antsy about it. I feel like as soon as it got mentioned to me, I went, man, I need something. I need something, man. You need to hook me up bad. Missing Link ain't gonna do it all for me. It'll distract me a little bit, but it's still like a mobile game, so I tend to have a little bit of a side eye on it. But I need some stuff. You need to get Hand or some small team, and they need Toze, I don't care who, needs to be cooking up some Kingdom Hearts game that some people will say is not important, but for me it will be important. Because they said that for every spin-off. I need a little something. But, yeah, that's about everything. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks really great. Really excited for what they're gonna put together here. I'm excited because I think that the super boss for this one will just be the younger baby Sephiroth from Ever Crisis. I've been trying to think of what the secret boss for this one's gonna be because they did Weiss. And I don't know what else you can do there. I feel like you save Genesis for later because he's going to be the final boss of the third game. So you got to come up with something. And, I feel like I think Baby Nut Sephiroth might be able to do the job. Anyway, that'll do it. You got yourself 48 minutes of me talking shop on FF7 and other stuff in the Square Pantheon. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys soon in a more streaming format.